Alright, ledgers, good evening. How is everybody? Can everybody hear me? And can you see a Delta Exchange website? Hi Snoopy, Memlody, Big Baby, Peter, Eunice, Praise, Joel, Duzan, Elliot. If I haven't mentioned your name, apologize. There's loads of you. Okay, see if you can share the video if you can. Much appreciated. Let's get the likes in. Tonight is a special one because Zoran, he's a fucking whale. If you know him long enough, this guy's a flipping. He's probably one of the biggest traders you'll find on Twitter. But yeah, he's a great guy, good friend, and he's here to share a lot of alpha, free alpha. Yes, cause he's gonna go over his trending market techniques. Okay. Yeah. So what he does. So yes, you wanna listen on this one. So that's why I even changed the title in honor of Zoran. How to trade a trend. Okay, so yes, XO, Dexray, Carpe, Oscar. Okay. Hi everybody, I can't mention all your names, apologies. Okay, so he'll be on after, once I've done my bit, okay, my boring bit obviously. So let's get the necessities out of the way with. Say thanks to our sponsor. Let's get the likes up. Let's see if we can get 100 likes before I finish this thing. It helps the stream, gets the algos going, and share the video if you can. So, welcome back again for another weekly Bitcoin for Ledgers live stream. Before we start, as always, we need to say thanks to our sponsor, Delta Exchange, for making this happen. Absolutely free for you guys. So if you appreciate whatever I share, give them a like, follow them on Twitter. Check out the link in the description, the unique code. So if you use my code, then that shows you guys are interested in the stream, and they keep sponsoring the thing for you guys to have it for free. Okay, simple as that really. So yeah, if you like what they do, check them out. I use them, great exchange, and many on Twitter are using them. So check them out. If you don't like it, you don't like it. What's the accent? Bromley, Birmingham. Finally, as ever, nothing in this video stream constitutes financial advice in any way. And trading crypto comes with a high risk element, and you should always consult with a financial professional before embarking on any activity of this kind. So yeah, with my link, you can get up to $30,000 deposit bonus, of the terms and conditions, as you do, and some reduction on fees. Anyways, let's go over the last stream, the setup. So there's only one setup that happened, and despite my posting, if you follow the stream, I'm gonna make it quick, and we'll go over the setups now. Maybe cover one or two alts. Try to get this done within half an hour, and then get Zoran on. Okay, Captain Cole. So what was if you remember from last time, I said it's down here. This was the weekly high, not last week, the week before's high. Okay, we'll just go over the last week's setup, and I said let the dip happen. Could the dip happening towards here? Could it there? It doesn't really matter. If you took the setup based on this, that's fine. What was my specific setup? If you watched last week's stream, I said once it reclaims, this is the consolidation around that weekly high, then that's it. You got your long trigger. Whether you took it there, or whether you took it there, or even whether you chased it up on a break above here, the fact is we've reclaimed back above. So at the time, hard in violation would have been there. If you had come back below here, probably would have cut it. But it tagged. Where was the initial target? 60k, the bottom of the blue box, like I mentioned. Go all the way to the left, and you got the reaction off of there, didn't you? And what was the second target? 61.9k, which was that quarterly high there. Both targets hit, and that target has capped the upside. Okay, yes, it's wicked up a bit, up 100, but as you can see, that's the level capping the upside, and that was the only real play for Bitcoin. Okay, so did anybody manage to get this? If you did, happy days. If not, fuck it, next trade. So that was it for last week. That was the only trigger. I did have a deeper pullback scenario. It didn't give it. So this is why I wait for the confirmation. So if you remember, just briefly go over this part. This was the range. Okay. We were looking at here. And then here. That's the reclaim. Okay. Whether took it there. Even if you took it here, that's fine. The violation was set. The fact that it's reclaimed back above the box I mentioned was the main thing. Okay. Straightforward setup. It's all in last week's stream. So, what do we do for this week? Okay, it's right there right now. So let's go to the daily and let's have a look. So we're right at resistance right now. I would personally prefer if we were to go lower. Okay, we're gonna be prepared. If we were to go lower, I would personally prefer a run, and then if it broke down, then that would be a shorting opportunity, and that would mean we remain this range. So Angler, before I continue, let's mark out our ranges. Why am I using the ranges I'm using? Well, as you can see, where are we within? So we are still within this. This is the other range, and below that is there. So where are we right now? It's resistance till we break out. Okay? So we're still at resistance. Now that does not mean I'm going to short it. Okay? Apologies for a bit of a cold, but yes, thanks for asking. It's 11 days now. I think I'll stop smoking. Still got a bit of that smoker's cough. Takes a while. I've been smoking for years. So, yep, 11 days. No cigarettes. Although... So, what we're looking for is here. So, if I was to take a short, for example, again, let's get the stuff that people don't want to hear out the way with. I would prefer something like this. Quick run up and the immediate rejection. That will become a deviation exactly like this. And then that will be my shorting opportunity. And that will just be level to level. Target 1, which is the weekly level. And then target 2 here, which is where I'll be looking for a long. Okay? Which is where I'll be looking for a long. There. So that would be done. The play done. Because we are still pushing higher. This is just a pullback. Just like, you know, we pushed up here once before. We pulled back. And then we pushed higher. And that would just be it. So that's scenario 1 if it is going to pull back. The second scenario would be, well, if it does drop from here, okay, and people don't like hearing downside. I don't know why you don't like hearing downside movement on price. Market trades both, but this is more designed for traders, by the way. If you're a hodler, get the fuck out. It's not for you. So downside would be, and this is still maintaining a bigger bullish outlook. Okay, this is still maintaining a bigger bullish outlook. Well, what's the range that's capping the market? Let's make it a simplified chart. Okay, so what's capping the market? As you can see, the downside is capped by here. The upside is more or less around about here. Okay. Throw in a trend line just to make it look all pretty. Okay. Where would be a decent objective? Well, I think there's be nice stops resting around here. These lows here. Liquidity run. Okay. Which would line up around here. So what I would like is if it was to come back below here, and that would be a breakdown, that would be my shorting opportunity if it didn't give us the run. Target 1, this high here. Take out these stops. Target 1, and then target 2 here. And then I'm done for that. Okay. And then I'm going to watch and see if this is going to be a buying opportunity, but that's there. Why am I going for short-term targets? Because this is still bigger picture bullish. Okay? It's still bigger picture bullish, which means I got to be careful. If you don't like this, wait for a pullback. So far, am I making sense? And is everything clear before we move forward? Exactly what I need to see. And where's that target line up with that weekly level? Okay? So, is that clear for everybody? Now I'm going to go over the long scenarios, which everybody's here for, right? So I've got that out the way with. Because you've got to be prepared. If it gives me that, I'm going to be shorting it. I don't care about direction. I'll trade both sides. Despite my bear posting, I am trading both sides of the market. So, what about the long scenario? Well, let's go with the easy breakout play. The easy breakout play would be, well, above here. Now, we've got to be careful. Even the breakout play is the exit that's going to matter. Okay? So, could we get a big blast-off breakout? Okay? So, let me give an example. I don't know. Could we just get a big nuke like that? You know? Or are we going to get something like, even if we do play the breakout, if it immediately rejects, I've got to cut that then. Because that's a swing failure of a high. Key high, isn't it? Okay? So, the breakout play, be prepared for that. I'm making it very, very simple. We've got nice consolidation. Now, even if it does break out, probability-wise, it's probably going to take out that high. That's all I need to know. Okay? Now, whether it continues above that or whether it swing fails, it doesn't really bother me. I'm going to have enough to take out some profits. Okay? So, the simple breakout play would be, this is where basic chart patterns do help, okay? I use them. But the key thing is how we are trading around this key level here. Deviation, deviation. So far, if it's going to nuke, it's going to be from here, in my opinion. Okay? Unless it's a swing failure of the high. So if it does this, and then breaks out and holds, that is enough for me to go for the trigger. Invalidation, hard invalidation I'd put there. If it was to break below this low and not reject, I'd cut it. And I'd go for that. I would personally chase that because we already had 1, 2, 3, 4 touches. If it comes into here and then rejects, I'm going to cut my trade. Okay? Then I'm going to look and see, does it consolidate between this quarterly level and previous all-time high? If it does that, so I've exited the trade if it rejects. If it does that, that's a bullish sign. Okay, and then I'm happy to then play it there, play the consolidation breakout then. Okay, they're a bit like here, consolidates, deviates below a key level, and then once it reclaims back below, above here, that's the real leg. If it does that, I'll play the long there, invalidation, let's go for new highs. So this is a breakout play. Is everybody clear with that so far? Is that making sense? We're going to mark out targets in a minute. It's always important to have targets, but is that clear as to how I'm going to look to play it? So you're going to be wary. If it does break out, most likely it's probably going to hit that. But if the swing fails this, I got to get the fuck out. Okay? If the swing fails this, I'm going to get out. Okay? And then I'll see if it does some sort of pullback, consolidate around this. If this region consolidation would be perfect for much higher prices. And if it does that, get back in, just like here. Treat this consolidation as this consolidation. Then it does, no, sorry, my bad. Here, like here. And if it does this, okay, so if it does this, pull back, that's a natural SR retest of a quarterly level. I could either start going for longs here depending on the price action. So if it shows me bullishness here and holds, I could long it there, back towards that level. And then ultimately the breakout play like this would be that leg there, would be here. And that would tell me, you know what, we've had the opportunity to deviate back below here. The fact that we haven't deviated back below here is very, very bullish. And that's going to be new highs. And that's probably most likely going to be continuation above there. So where would the new highs be? Okay, let's start marking out the targets, because where are we aiming for? Thin air or what? So what I would do is, I look at this and say, okay, I'm going to draw my fib extensions. Okay, so what I'll do is, I'll take this high to this low. Okay. And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to go with this leg here. Because that was a more, this was a wick. This wick is different each exchange. So if I look at this right now, okay, I'm going to look at, is the mid-range lining up? And as you can see, the mid-range lines up. So what I can do is, this is how I draw my ranges. So this is a bit of alpha I'm leaking here. For those that keep asking me how I draw my ranges, well, you're going to see now. There. So what I then do is, I'm going to do it the other way around, because the way I've got my fib set up is the opposite. Okay. So I'm going to draw it this way around. Yep. Here. Okay. There. And as you can see, the midpoint's been a consolidation point. Not only that, the 25% level has been a key pivotal area. You can see that flipping point? A lot of congestion around there. If that breaks, my next target most likely is going to be 74k. Okay? 74k is going to be my target then. I'm going to be more, I like to be more conservative. And that's going to be a big level for price. So I'm going to mark that out. That's if this is a deviation area, right? This region here between the blue box and this top level. So if it does that, and then does that, my target is going to be 74k. But I am also going to mark out a target in the middle of that, because on the way there, are going to be resistance levels, right? So the halfway point of that, between that level and that level, comes in around about 69,400, call it 69.5, okay? So the first target is 70, oh, fuck your mom. 69,000, oh shit. I've confused my, yeah, there it is. Sorry, too many lines here. 69,400, okay? Let's mark that out. I'm going to go for more conservative targets, okay? Just 50, I'd rather go a couple of hundred lower. I always front run it. Target 1, 69.4. And target 2, call it 74k, okay? Very rarely you can see bullish shit from me. Okay, make them, oh fuck you. Okay, yes, 74k then. I think it'll be a quick one then. Why not? Why not? So if it does break out, and this is that breakout scenario, if it does this, I mean, if it does it in one candle, that's different. If it's done, I mean, if it's done it before, why can't you do it again? Okay. Yes, let's get to 200 likes. 250 likes. There's 500 of you here. So yes, once in the one breakout scenario here, if a swing fails this and drops, I'm gonna cut it, and then I'll see if it's gonna consolidate here. Because if it does this, that's the shorting, okay? And I'm done. Even though I was wrong on the breakout, I can still make money. And then, is it hard to understand? Well, I can't do much about that. I'm sorry. It is what it is. Put the subtitles on. And then after this, that's my long target 1, target 2. Okay. Now, ideally, it's if it consolidates here, I think that would be a more powerful breakout. Because if it just goes up in one go, I'd be worried about a topping. I'd be worried about a blow off top in that case. Yeah. And a blow off top, I mean, even if, if something could do this, and then That's if it goes in one go. That's just me noticing pricing age. But it doesn't matter. That could happen or may not happen. So those are the two breakout plays. Is everybody clear with that? So that's that there. Now let's go down and man, there's 559 of you and only 190 likes. He's stingy fuckers. Okay. Now let's remember where we're at. Okay. There's two pullback scenarios I'm looking at. One is the pullback towards, well, if we're still within here, there's no reason why we can't come here. Okay. Why can't we? If we say you can't, it's because you don't want it to come here. Okay. It's simple as that. So the deep pullback scenario remains as the same as last week. Okay. This is an SR retest. So even if a deviation is fine. Scenario one is mark out the range low. And even that, this is more or less near the halfway point. And as you can see, remember the low that caused that high as a key pivotal level here. So this is going to be a magnet for price, and that's going to be a magnet for price. So scenario one is if it comes back down, okay, pullback scenario, which is perfectly fine. Nothing wrong with pullbacks. Comes back down. This was a previous area of deviation. Consolidate a bit here, you know, give us a bit of this sort of price action. Breakout. That's your long. Level to level will be targeting here because that is the key level. And then ultimately, I'd say another retest of here. I'll be looking for longs until proven otherwise. Okay? You swear too much? Shut the fuck up. Swear too much. Fucking of course I do. So, target. Where did we get this little flipping fairy from? Get out of here. There we go. So that's that. So that's the long. I'll be wary of this level as an objective, but ultimately going back towards the blue box, and that would be ping pong between these two levels. Okay. So let's go down to the lower time frame and just make that a bit neater. You're gonna believe that? You swear too much. Your mom? Okay, no. So let's go down to the lower time frame now. Okay, this guy's probably the first time he's hearing me. He doesn't know. This guy doesn't know. Okay, no. So he must be new around here. So let's make that simplified. So we got this region here coming towards there, the deeper pullback. Okay, consolidate, reclaim, level to level target one. As you know, that's key resistance. Okay, but ultimately, if we're correct, I'd say we're probably going to push higher. But if it comes into here, starts pulling back, I'm happy to cut it. And then if it reclaims back above here, exactly the same play where I took the long there, I'll look for the long here to either add in or get back in and push it towards here. Target one, obviously target two. Remember your levels, and then let's see if we can get new highs after that. And the new high plays the same triggers above here, and then there will apply again. Everybody clear with that? Your mom's laughing. How old is she? Single. Oh, I'm joking. Okay, so that's that done. What am I drinking? San Pellegrino. Squeeze some lemon in there. Ice. Can't beat it. Guy Ritchie movies. You know what? That's probably it. I've been watching too many Guy Ritchie movies. That's probably it. Listen, I am how I am. You like it, you like it. You don't, fuck off. Okay, and that's about it for Bitcoin. Okay, now the second scenario is the shallower pullback. Okay, the shallower pullback, why could it happen? Well, it could happen because that's a key level here. So again, it's not, oh, I'm marking out 50 scenarios. Well, maybe I am, but every scenario has a clear trigger. I'm not drawing, oh, this, I'm not doing this, or I'm not doing this. I'm saying, if this happens, then that's my trigger. If this happens, then that's my trigger. Okay, and if you got a problem with that, then you can fuck off too. So, let's do that. So, this could be a possible shallow pullback, okay? Many cases, we've seen markets, right? For example, I'll give an example. Let's look at this for a sec. And this is why I always prepare for shallow pullbacks. In a trending market, right? Remember this. Consolidation, a rally. Now, ideally, you would want something like this, wouldn't you? Right? What about this? Consolidation, a rally, consolidation, comes close and then pulls back up there. Now, that becomes like a floor or a base. And then often, it does that then. Have you ever seen that? Well, yes, you have. Down here. Doesn't retest this. It rallies up, comes back down to the point of the pivot, and then pushes back up again. Here's a swing failure, but it doesn't retest that. This is what everybody's waiting for, right? So, why is it that this could be possible scenario for here? Okay. So, how do I prepare for that? Well, this is where the way I mark out my levels sort of helps out, and the deviations. Because once the level is deviated, then you don't have to guess the level that's holding it. So what do I mean by that? Well, we know why this is a key level. Has it been pivot before? Yes, it has. Okay, down here. Okay, so if this is where the trigger is, this is why I don't blindly buy. I rarely ever blindly buy unless it's a clear at the extreme end, clear invalidation. Okay, so if it comes down to here, it stops run. We know this is that key pivot level. I didn't want a deviation below that weekly level. Okay, let me go to the lower time frame. It's easier. My apologies. 1 second. Okay, here's better. So we got a bit of consolidation that hasn't really been retested here before. So if it can give us that kind of movement, okay, fill that. Now we've retested the key high time frame level here, old SR here. That was acting as big resistance here. And then let it do its thing, and then once it does the reclaim, prove that's deviation, then that tells me that that is the shallower pullback. Or probability that's the shallower pullback, okay? Because then I have a clear invalidation, cut on a clean break below that low, play it back up, target, and whatever the other highs are. Okay? Is that clear? Everybody clear? They said, I'm not really, I mean, unless it's a clear trend, it's sometimes a short-term trade may evolve into something bigger. I just trade level to level. I can play a swing trade by playing it level to level. That's just my style. It's not for everybody, but that's how I do it. I mean, some of the shorts I've caught, I've been lucky on, in the sense where I caught a big move. Because sometimes trades evolve, right? So I've just intended on a target here, but then boom, it just collapses. But that's how, nobody really knows. The fact with me is I can play a trend, but if you know how to get back in, and you're unsure, then what you can do is get back in then, isn't it? That's just my style. I may be wrong, but why take that risk? I mean, here, if I was to hold it here, well, I know that, okay, if I get out at this level, okay, pushed up a bit, but I know how to get on board. A clean reclaim, consolidate, and break above, then that means trend continuation. I miss out on a short-term move here, but at least I got peace of mind that I'm not going through all of this. Does that make sense? I know how to get back on board. So if you learn how to know how to get back on board, okay, then that's all right then. Okay. So that's that. Oh, trader, when is the last time you went? It's a Samoan pub. I don't know. I've never been to a Samoan pub before. Why? What's there something special about that? Unban you on Twitter. If I blocked you on Twitter, there's a reason. So no. So instead. So that's that done. I'm gonna briefly go over FBTC now. So that's Bitcoin covered. So FBTC is still looking weak. I spoke about this last time. Okay. And either Bitcoin rally is gonna push this lower. Okay, so I spoke about the bigger picture. I am very bullish macro view FBTC. Okay, that's not doing. So in my 7 minutes I will finish. So I'll quickly run through FBTC and F, and we'll do 1 or 2 more alts and then get Zoran on. So like I said to you before, bigger picture, I'm very bullish this. You're gonna be able to handle pullbacks. When you look at macro view, either if you're gonna call yourself a long-term trader, stick to long-term trading. Okay, don't go on a 5-minute chart and say, oh look, it's bearish. Shut the fuck up. It's called long-term for a reason. That's a macro consolidation, okay, and that's a multi-year consolidation breakout. So that would be a natural for us to get a retest. Where's it gone? And don't just remove them. Click hide user from channel, okay. Get this guy there as well. Get rid of this guy. I'm just gonna ban people for no reason now. So, like I said to you before, this will be perfectly acceptable, and then consolidate here, reclaim, and then that'll be the lift off move. Remember what I said before? We get the consolidation, we get the breakout, retest, whether that's a retest there or something higher, doesn't matter. It's that second leg that's just going to give us the big run, okay? And that's that done. Yeah, now I've stopped small. It's been 11 days, okay? Yeah, I mean, I just pissed them off on purpose. If you cannot handle my shit posting, even though I'm clearly telling you exactly how I went long, most people that are bullish didn't even take this long. And they're talking about their longs from like 0.1 BTC long they're holding all the way from down here. Shut the fuck up. I gave a clear cut long, clear invalidation. I probably gave more bullish case than most permeables out there. Anyway, let's continue now. Enough nonsense. So, let's go back, add in our levels, okay? And what I would like to see, and I still believe this would happen, if we can get something like this, macro view, reclaim, I am going to be mega bullish F. Ethereum is going to be the one to take, in my opinion. based on this chart towards here. I think Bitcoin will go up as well, but I think if this happens, Ethereum takes over. I don't care if you're Bitcoin maxi or not. I'm just playing the chart. I couldn't give a shit if it's Ethereum or Bitcoin. But yeah, and that would be, you know, a range play as well. Let's see, imagine this is a 5-minute chart, range low. Let's call this our range high. Let's call this SR. Deviate. Get back above. Let's fucking go. Target 1. If it reclaims, you know. And this is the point where we're getting the mega blast off. And that would line up with our macro mid-range, which is here. We get above the macro mid-range, then we're going towards here, and the new highs. Okay? But yeah, that is that. Is everybody clear with that? So I still feel like FBTC's got a bit more downside to go. So Bitcoin would be the preferred long. Okay? If both are looking bullish, Bitcoin would be the preferred long based on this chart. Okay? The only other way possibly would be, well, if this is a bit of a pivot and they still somehow carve out a higher low. Okay? You never know. I would argue that, I mean, if you had this chart, you should have done it from here. The only other way is if it reclaims back above here from now, then this would be it. And I'll probably play it back towards. And even then, I'd be more conservative. Target 1 here. Okay? And then target 2 these highs. And then let's see if we get lucky for that. Okay? And that's it. But for now, I mean, even F maxis can't deny this looks fucking shit right now. But when it gets down to here, I'll be on the F side of things. And that's that. Okay? Still in my macro range. Yes. Yes, you are. Okay, FUSDT. Now, again, you play that short term. But like I said to you, this is why I have targets in mind. There's a reason why I hold targets. If it starts rejecting off my target, so when you see me draw a level and say, okay, that's a target and that's a target. But if it comes down after it starts breaking down, you got to exit it. Right? So we broke above here. So remember the range we were using? I'm going to briefly draw it out from last week, okay? It was that here. We got above here. Either you took the long here, or you could have chased it above here in the lower time frame. That was fine. Why? Because I said already, we've already had a couple of tests. Mouse is dying. Here and here. Okay, short term here. But I said this base is going to be the target. Look what price has done. That's where the base has been used as resistance right now, right? Around here is resistance. And since then, it's come down. So, what are the possible plans for this? Let's go with the easy breakup play. Based on FBTC, I'm not interested in a long on this one. Just not. If I was going to short something, it'd be F right now. But what I would say is, okay, is let's clean this chart up. Let's make it easier. Let's mark up POSR first. Resistance. Okay. Now this is SR, okay, and if I was to take a baseline validation, okay, it wouldn't make sense to me. If I'm thinking FBTC is going lower, I'd rather just take Bitcoin, right? But if FBTC starts to show a sign of strength, then one possible scenario could be, well, one deeper pullback would be, I mean, if it does do something like this and then reclaims, that's a deviation done. If it was going to go lower, that should have held as resistance, but that's reclaiming, that's my long, play it back up towards here, and that invalidation below here. That's in case it does that, okay? Here, I mean, long, you can long till you're wrong, but I'm not feeling comfortable based on FBTC, and I'm happy to be wrong. I don't give a fuck, because what I do know is, I'll pay up, I'll get on board higher, but I'll get on board when the probability is higher. So we've got this consolidation here, okay? So, say Bitcoin's launching higher, eventually USD can get dragged up with it as well, most likely. So what I would happily do is, I'm happy to take it above here then. If FUS, yeah, so either, yeah, that's the breakup player. By then, I'll be going for new highs, previous all-time high. If I was to take this based on invalidation, okay, then I could long it, say here, based on support. Not that I'm doing it, but based on invalidation, I'll cut you on a clean break below here. So if this is the consolidation that's capping the downside, I would cut you on a clean break below this box. But I wouldn't take that personally, so let's not go there. Bitcoin is the better play, based on FBTC. Does that make sense? Zoran, are you in the chat? I'm going to do two more alts, one or two alts, and then I'm going to cut it. Okay, I'm going to get Zoran. So F, unfortunately, it's not as clean for me. Yes, that's about it for F, really. Yeah, that's about it for F. I mean, Bitcoin is the better play, okay? Yes, I'm still in PYR. I've called it at, remember when I called this son of a bitch at 3? Yes, look at this. So it's a white chart. If you're complaining about getting on board here, that's on you. I called it down here. So if you didn't get on board down here, then that's up to you. So what I would say is, okay, this is still valid. I like this idea. Down here, okay. And I spoke about the 12.7. How did I get that 12.7 target? It was based on a fib extension. Simple as that. I'll run it a bit lower. I'm gonna go my feet. So let me get the other feed out. 1 second, bear with me. I just got the levels drawn. I save both of us time. There it is. Magical chart. So there's a couple of scenarios for this. Okay. Now, I personally don't want a deep pullback. I have got a big back on this. But this was a region. Remember last week? I said you could either elongate based on invalidation. Okay. Cut and a clean break below here. Targeting 10. Or wait for the reclaim. Reclaim there. Tag 10. Done. Okay. So that was the late players that didn't get on board there. Now what does he do? So ideally what we want to see is a stay above this. Okay. And that's just proven itself to be KSR. So what I would want to see is, I mean, there's two scenarios. One is a deep pullback scenario, which obviously nobody likes if you're long this, but we have to accept if the market's going to do this, there's nothing you can do about it. All your alts will fucking shit the bed. But scenario one is, okay, the deeper pullback would be if it does this. And then once it can reclaim, I'm happy to long that there, invalidation, target, and 10 is acting as range high. If it blasts through this and holds, then 12.7. Okay? Is that clear? Now, if it doesn't give us the deeper pullback, okay, well, that's fine, because this area is still, I mean, this could be still held as support. Let's go to the lower time frame for this. I'm going to have to run through this because I don't want to keep Zoran waiting. I know you're here for his alpha. I'm here for his alpha myself. So, let it do whatever pullback it's going to do. I would personally prefer it above here. So, if it did whatever it does, if it doesn't give me the deep pullback, I'll wait for a clean breakout above here, establish support, and I'm going to smash it along towards there. If it swing fails this high and gets below here, I'm going to cut it. But if it triggers that long, I'm going to cut it. My invalidation become this low, I'm going to go for 12.7. Next, and then who knows after that. Fundamentally, this is solid. Check it out yourself. Let's quickly do UTK, because I did post about this and there's some questions asked about this as well. So, if we go to UTK, pretty straightforward setup. Doesn't really require much explanation. It was down here when I called it. Okay, why have I taken this? The reason why I'm doing it is explain the explanation. So we got range high here. We got the range low there. Okay, and this is where I was looking for the longs. Why? Based on if it's gonna be wrong, cut any clean break below here. If it breaks below range low and holds, then that's wrong. So cut it. But at the time, it's a bit late now. I mean, I'd wait for a pullback. Okay, if you didn't get on board then. First target around the mid range there. The other way of getting on board is, well, if it does come back down again and then reclaim, okay, you can get on board there again. No, hang on. My pen came out wrong. Let me go to the lower time frame. Okay, so that's better. Oh shit, where my levels gone? Why does this always do this to me? I lose my levels. There we go. So let's mark out the shorter term thing as well. Short term, if I was to do the same thing, where's that SR pivot around here? So, one way short term would be, I mean, obviously reclaim above here and hold. So one is obviously, if it comes back towards range lows, I'd long that again, play it towards there. Or the breakout play, reclaim, hold, towards there, first target, and second target there. Okay, done. That's it, play towards range high. If it breaks range high, then obviously we're going to start going towards there, and then much higher prices. Okay, and that's about it. And do Zava, a few questions about this. The last time I called Zava, well, when I initially called it, it was down here, wasn't it? Around 0.75. And since then, it went there. So yeah, I do hold loads of alts. Those I think I'm always perma bearish. Now this looks like some sort of bullish pattern in the middle of nowhere. Okay. What I would say on this is, probably for KSR pivot. Nope, I don't like this level. Let me go to the lower time frame. So this is where I've got to switch then. It's not giving me what I want. It's got to be clean. So what's capping the upside really and truly? I would argue this level here. So we've got this resistance level here. And these are areas of deviation. Well, what's capping the downside? Okay. I would argue around about here. Okay. So what I would look for, this is a bigger picture. So what I would look for is maybe retest here. So if we can do something like this, Okay, if it does something like this, and I'll go with the other scenario that was sort of invalidated in a way, and then reclaimed, and that's a range play back towards range highs, and then possibly, I mean, it depends on how you draw your trend line. Okay, I would go for this one here. Why? Because the other two are deviation plays. If it breaks above here and holds this time, bigger picture looks like a biggest bullish flaggy type of formation, and that would be in my next play, high prices. So one scenario is target there. Second scenario, and where would the objectives be for this? Take that high to this low. We're gonna go for probably, obviously that was the initial target there, 6.44, 7.6, and then 8.99 ish. Okay, and that's that. Okay, I'm gonna bring Zoran on now. Okay, he probably bored of me. Let's get Zoran on. Let me DM him. That's about it. Yeah. So does that make sense? Yeah, I mean, all the half you can get blocked. If you're gonna chat shit, you're gonna get blocked. Simple as that. I mean, if you can't behave, you can't be civilized. You know what the fuck you doing here? You like 13-year-old kids. What's wrong with half of you, man? It's not difficult to just shut the fuck up and listen. If you don't like it, fuck off. Simple as that. Either shut the fuck up or fuck off. Why you feel the need to like chat shit for? Honestly, simple. I mean, I don't blame you if your parents ain't taught you any manners. But that's not my problem. We're not here for babysitting. Zoran's coming on now, so I'm making him. Yo! Can you hear me?
Yo, how's it going?
Excellent.
Yeah,
there he is. So you have to screen share, right?
Yep. I think
so
I
once
got
you've got
that.
things
One
up, I'm
second.
gonna bring you up. Oh, there he is. Can everybody hear Zoran?
How's it going, guys? Everyone hear me?
Thank you for coming on. So brief introduction. He doesn't need an introduction. He's probably the legend on Twitter. Everybody knows about him, and he is here to share alpha here. So you know what? Carry on. So this is part 2, bringing you on, and you promised to come on when we're trending market, and you've kept to your word. So we appreciate that. Trying to get it fit the screen. So yeah, let's go, lad.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me again, SC. It's a pleasure to be back. I think the last time we spoke was in July. Price was chopping around 30, 40K. We had our mid-cycle bear market, so to speak. And I said, yeah, let me come back on when the price starts trending and we can actually do something fun. Ranges are 100% SC's bread and butter. I don't think I've ever met anyone who trades ranges as well as you, man. You're very clear cut, and I love that about you. You put invalidation, you put triggers, there's no bullshit. When it comes down to it, you tell people exactly where they're wrong, where they're right, and how to get in. And I love that about you. And I think a lot of people, or at least a lot of traders, can learn from that in a clear-cut way, how to define risk, reward, and then how to actually execute without hesitating. So kudos to you.
Appreciate
I loved a lot of what you were talking about. A lot of my stuff's going to kind of overlap on that. But, we are here to talk about trending markets today. I'm very excited about this. I've been so bullish on Twitter. If you've been following my bull posts, I kind of been doing overkill. Just because it's time, man. We're in the second half of this cycle. What I believe is, the start to the second half of this Bitcoin parabola that we all know and love, the fabled up only. So let's just, talk about trending versus ranging markets. Obviously, ranging markets are your bread and butter, and I like to think trending markets are my bread and butter. In range markets, you have a lot of technical levels, horizontals, SRs that get respected. Technicals get respected in range-bound markets because you might have a range. I'm not going to have a clear range here, but let's say you have a range and you have a deviation above or below. It doesn't matter. Point is, it trades pretty similarly from mid to low to high. And that's great. Now, in a trending market, however, technicals don't always get respected. In fact, they rarely do. And the reason being is pretty simple, right? It's a flow-driven market. When everyone's piling in, technicals just don't get respected. And that's something to keep in mind as we start this, what I like to call the second half of this, bull run. So we had this nice, 60, 70-day range. I capitulated around here. I flipped from bullish. I would call this 57K drop around here. And then I think it was this 40K move. I flipped my bias, man. I think this was mid-July or mid-June. And then I came on to your stream around here. I flipped my bias. I had a plan. I journaled it. I said, everyone's going to get bearish down here. We're going to chop around and eventually go back up. But somewhere around here, I fucked myself. I can go back into my journal and look why, and I'll talk about it in a little bit. But it's key for me to understand why I did that, because that's really a key factor in what helped me kind of identify this leg and prepare for this
Can I
leg.
pause
Right.
you for a second?
So it was, yeah, please do.
I'm gonna note this down. Everybody keeps asking me. You mentioned something so important, journaling. You know, once you finish this, right? Could you give like 1 or 2 minute your views on journaling, the importance of it, and how someone could go about it? Everybody asks me that, but I just wanted to note it down.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
But that is actually in my little plan for the day.
Excellent.
So absolutely,
Perfect.
I'll get
Okay,
to that
that's
towards
carry
the
on.
end.
Carry on.
Got a little topic of stuff to go through. So yeah, so anyways, we're here in the middle, right? And I flip my bias, and Bitcoin just starts bleeding down. I'm bear posting like a motherfucker. I'm obviously getting my ass handed to me right about here. I think we're at 31K. My smart ass says exit all crypto markets. Everyone remembers it. There's no way you don't, right? And why, right? Because you look at this chart, like this is about to roll off a cliff. It's about to roll off.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, when I look at it, I journaled that day and I said Bitcoin looks like shit. It's probably going to roll over, maybe 20K retest incoming, question mark, question mark, question mark. And I looked through my journal, and then I looked back to today and I said, or actually I looked back to mid-September and I said, what's going on? It was right here when I should have realized when things look like they're about to roll over or things look super euphoric, that's usually when Bitcoin likes to give you a nice fuck you candle and just flip, just absolutely flip. So in a trending market, it's key to remember that when it looks the way it should, if that makes sense, it's usually incorrect, right? So this looks like it's a straight parabolic downtrend. You're waiting for that mega capitulation down, but it doesn't come. In fact, you get the bullish engulfing, which leads to this nice almost 50% rise in price from the lows. Now, it was key for me to understand this because I didn't flip bias until probably, I said originally that I would flip on the reclaim of this mid-range, but we never got that retest, so I wasn't long here. But when we came back into it, it was about 37K when I realized, okay, price is probably going to go up. So lo and behold, we had this nice move to 53. I think I got long around 47 and rode a little bit of this, got stopped out. But point being is once we had this new candle on, what was it, September 7th, right? This was so indicative to me that the second leg was happening because, for example, we had this 60-day range. We broke down here, had this mega nuke. And I just knew, right? I've seen this before. I participated in the 2013 cycle by buying the top of November of around 800 a coin, went up another $300 before shitting myself. And then 2017 as well. So when we had this nuke, it was so reminiscent of previous cycles where we have this brutal shakeout. Sentiment starts flipping. And this is where I decided I wanted to build a swing long, right? So it was 44K, I started just building. We had this move up, went down, I kept adding. And it was right here where I kind of reviewed my journal notes. This area right here, this whole little capitulation grinding into the 40K lows with the sweep below, like this to me was very similar to this. It was just, it looked like it was going to roll over and die. It really did to me. And I know I saw a lot of people on Twitter were saying, oh, we're going to have to go to 37s, 38s, wherever a case, and then who knows, lower. It was about here where I realized, looked at my journal, and it said, you know, when things look like it's about to roll over and die, just keep adding. So lo and behold, we obviously had this move up. We had some nice consolidation here, and now we're in the 60Ks, man. We are back near all-time highs. We're consolidating right under resistance. It's beautiful. So I guess the next topic I want to talk about, I guess, is just Ichimoku in general, because I'm a trend trader. It's my bread and butter.
Yeah.
I think when you're approaching a trending market, you have to keep in mind that less is more. I could put a bunch of fancy indicators, like put some stochastics, some other type of oscillators underneath to kind of help me get a gauge for things, but price action is king. And it's just important to understand previous cycles, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But where we are right now, we're at 62K, we're hovering along. We consolidated under this, what I call my SSR zone resistance of 54 to 56K. And we just broke through, right? And we've been kind of hanging above, just hanging out. Now that we're here, I think it's really important to understand that there's a lot of participants to our sideline. This is, you know, this isn't based on fact or numbers. This is just my gut feeling by looking at Twitter, looking at the Crypto Insiders Telegram, and just seeing the psychology of people. Because the market's just one large pile of human psychology thrown up on a chart with price. So the fact that we're in the 60Ks again, we're near all-time highs, people are not positioned. And you ask yourself, you know, some of our viewers right here might not be positioned, and some might be positioned from the 40s, right? But maybe you're not, and that's completely fine. I'm here to talk about how you could get into it and then what to expect in the coming weeks/months, right? So first things first, I'm in trend trader. It's my bread and butter. I like Ichimoku. It's a very clear-cut indicator for identifying trends. It helps you capture up to 70% of any given trend. And for those who know me, the Kijun Sen, which is this beautiful yellow line we'll see here on various time frames, is my favorite standalone indicator on its own. Well, what is the Kijun Sen? You know, SC, you draw your ranges and you have your midpoint.
Yeah.
Well, the Kijun Sen is a dynamic midpoint. It's the dynamic 50% Fibonacci. It's the mean of the trend. It's the high and the low divided by 2 for the last X period. So it's essentially the mean of whatever price action is the last 20, 30, 40, 60, 120 periods. Now, why I like it so much is because if you're in a strong trending market, price is just clearly going up, but you don't know where to get in. Logically, if you think about it, and it makes sense for me from both a mathematical perspective and just a logic perspective, I want to get in so if Ichimoku, just as an aside, means equilibrium at a glance, Ichimoku Kinko Hyo. So equilibrium at a glance within a trend, in my mind, the highest probability entry, if the trend is going to continue, right? We're assuming trend continuation, not trend reversal. The highest probability entry is going to be around the equilibrium of the trend, the midpoint, right? So as price kind of deviates, for example, over here, we see prices here, Tenkin's here, and Kijun's here. Now, there's two things that can happen. Either these MAs, which are basically mean reversions, can move up to meet price, or price can retract. And obviously, in this case, price keeps going sideways while the MAs catch up to it, so to speak. So what I like to do in a trending market is try to identify points of mean reversion. I call it mean reversion, call it whatever you want. I use doubled settings on Ichimoku, which is 20, 60, 120, and 30. So the traditional settings for quote unquote crypto are half this, right? 10, 30, 60, 30. Now, what my Kijun is for a lot of people there, or what my Tenkin is, I'm sorry, is for what many people with their standard settings is their Kijun. If you get confused with these, Japanese sounding names, the yellow is the baseline, the blue is the conversion line. Keep it simple for yourselves. Now, the ideal entry, we'll see it happen here a few times. These midpoints, or mean reversion, so to speak, potentially provide nice entries into the trend. I always prefer the yellow just because I double my settings, and the reason I do that is if I can look at the 4-hour, or I actually usually prefer the 12-hour, and I have double Ichimoku settings, I'm actually looking at the 1-day cloud transposed on 12-hour price action. So it kind of gives you a quicker reaction to how price is reacting within an indicator that's replicating itself on a higher time frame than the one you're looking at. So that's just how I've always used it. I learned it from Josh Olszewicz, also known as Carpe Noctem, 33K by July guy that we all know and love. He used this, and it kind of stuck with me as I was learning about Ichimoku back in the day. But neither here nor there. Don't want to kind of bog people down in Ichimoku. Got plenty of stuff to talk about. Entries, right? So like I said, it's a flow-driven market. So yesterday when we had this dip, this yellow line, this Kijun at 58.5 seemed like an ideal place to get an entry, right? Because you had this nice support block right here, and you would have thought, okay, well, this is a front run of that support block. If I can get filled here, I'm gold. Obviously, it never went that low. And that's kind of the point I want to talk about when we talk about trending markets versus ranging markets. Trending markets don't respect the technicals, especially Bitcoin. They just don't give a fuck. Just plain and simple. You have to shut up and bid. You have to embrace it. You have to understand that you will be front run. There are many other participants who are just as sidelined, if not more than you, who want to get into the trend. So as we move forward in this trend, I think just putting bids in general along this beautiful yellow line has rewarded me immensely throughout previous trends. I'll show you just a little. This is, I think, from 2017, where the Kijun Sen just tends to be a really nice area of potential bounce, where we get at the top or at the midpoint of trends. And so if you're just new to the stream and you're just tuning into Ichimoku, I think it would behoove you to throw this nifty indicator on and see if you can put some bids along this line and see what happens, right? But getting back to the cycle itself, right? So we moved up from 40K to now 60K.
Sorry,
and a lot of people are yeah, please do, anytime.
The indicator, is that available on TradingView, or is it some proprietary?
Yeah, it's just simple Ichimoku. Okay. The one I'm using is just slightly proprietary. Just forecast out the conversion line, the baseline 12 periods, but the standalone indicator works just as fine. You just won't have these extra dots. It's the exact same though. Absolutely. So again, we moved it up from 40K to the 60Ks. Here we are now. A lot of people are sidelined, and what you have to do in this situation, I like to think of it as a cyclical asset, right? We have this quote unquote cycle that lasts 3 to 4 years. You go on this parabolic runs. And where we are right now is no different in my mind to 2013 and 2017. 2013, we had the idea of potential ETF being launched, and then 2017, we had the CME futures launch, right? So I kind of compare the CME futures launch of 2017 to the ETF approval of 2017. When CME got approved in 2017, I believe it was end or mid of October when it was announced that it was going to be approved, and then it started trading, I think December 16th or 19th of 2017. I think from a catalyst perspective, we're in the same boat, right? ETF either gets approved, all these different ones that are happening, the futures-based ones, and potentially maybe a spot-based ETF. Whether or not they get approved, this is kind of where price starts going parabolic. So a lot of the times, the best thing you can do to play, let me pause myself for a second. The best way you want to play a Bitcoin bull run is to position yourself as largely, as greatly, as quickly as you can at the beginning of the run, right? So if you start building a position here, you're just chilling right now. That's kind of the boat I'm in. I added a little bit at 53 last week, but point being is I'm happy with the size of my position. I know that when a Bitcoin bull run starts, I like to say bet big, bet early, and then just walk away, right? Zoom out, don't do anything for the next literally 2 months, and just watch what happens. I can almost, like you talk about targets based on Fibonacci. I'm not that big into using fibs for targets. I like to just look at previous cycles.
Yeah.
So looking at Bitstamp, this is the 2013 run, this is the 2017 run. Taking a percentage from our mid-cycle bear market sideways consolidation in 2013, we went from $100, $127 to $1,200, which was about 700, 800% price increase. And then in 2017, we had a midsummer, early fall sideways with Jamie Dimon calling Bitcoin worthless, China banning Bitcoin, etc. We went down to 3K. I think Jamie Dimon called it worthless around 5K, and price proceeded to go up another 400% from there. So when I think of where we are in the current run, I'd like to say we're here or here, whichever cycle, kind of floats your boat here. So from a percentage basis, if we're in one of those cycles and we're looking at where we could go, right, from the mid bottom of 30Ks, let's say we take that 420% increase, right? So 4x from 30K is 120K.
Don't you think
So,
it becomes more difficult then after a price reaches a certain price level? Like it's easier when it's really low. It'll easily do the 100x, 200x. But when it comes to like these numbers now, do you think that's still effective?
I think so, and that's why I wouldn't go with this, even though the price action fractal kind of looks more similar to 2013 and 2017.
Right.
The percentage in 2013 was 800%. I don't prescribe to that. It'd be sick if Bitcoin goes, to 480K.
I think the whole world's a millionaires. Everyone's a millionaire.
Exactly. Then the super cycle is completely real, and we're all just living in this incredible simulation.
Yeah.
But I prescribe to 300, 400% from the mid-cycle bottom. So 30K, 3, 4x, 4, 5x, whatever the case is.
Yeah.
That puts it around 6 figures. I think that's an honest, bullish target to have. So my target's just been 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, and the reason being is I'm pretty superstitious when it comes to numbers. I just like my numbers the way they are for whatever reason. So if you take 120K and you front run that to 111K, great. That's kind of where my cycle target is. Where, let me make this clear. When I say I'm gonna close my positions out, what I mean is that at 111K, if we go there in the next 2 months, I'm closing all my leverage positions here. Every single one. There will be no leverage that I will be using whatsoever once we get past
Everybody
that.
front run him. But yeah, carry on.
Front run me is all you want, yeah. But here's why, right? Because I'm not in the business of calling tops. Sometimes bottoms, even though I could be terribly wrong on both sides of it. But the point is, I don't know how manic this trend can go. What I do know is in both 2013 and 2017, the cycle ended with a blow off top, right? So if you've been around for a minute, you kind of have seen maybe a couple blow off tops, especially in some alts, right? We've probably seen that a few times. Now, a Bitcoin blow off top looks and feels very particular, and it's something you only get with experience within the cycle, right? So they say it takes at least 2 cycles to make it. The first one to learn, the second one to capitalize. This is going to be probably my 3rd and a half one if you count the 2019 run up to 13K. So it's at this point, I have an understanding of how I react emotionally as price starts getting more and more parabolic. And that's why journaling, and I'll get to that in a little bit, kind of comes into play, because if you're not in tune with your own emotions, because again, the market is just the representation of our psychology, thrown on a price chart. If you're not in tune with your own emotions, especially as a discretionary trader, you're going to fall right into that same pitfall that many do. And we've talked about it, right? Where you make a fuck ton of money. You're at all-time high net worth portfolios. And what happens? You watch it all go back. You round trip the entire thing and then some usually. This is the fate of every single 2021 cycle entrant, I'm afraid to say. But for those who are tuning in, I'd like you to kind of consider that you can do better than your peers around you, especially if you're new. It just comes down to honestly identifying where you think you are in a cycle and being in tune with how you feel personally, right? So if you're starting to feel euphoric, and we'll get into talking about, trading parabolas and how to kind of exit right? There's no set way to exit a Bitcoin parabola. I think many will tell you can use trailing stop losses, partial take profits along the way. And then there's another way, which, I mean, some may strongly disagree, but there's the blow off top. And after the blow off top, you have the parabolic sell off, right? So maybe it goes to 111K, parabolic sell off to 60K, 50% drop. But then you have this complacency shoulder, which usually goes kind of close, not always right up to the point of breakdown on the initial parabolic break. And that is a valid strategy that you could have used in both 2013 and 2017 to exit at a relatively high level, right? So in 2013, I'm pretty sure you had $800 at one point. So you had a parabolic move to $1,200. You had the blow off, and then you actually came back all the way up to $980. As long as you were out of leverage positions here, and that's why I kind of recommend cutting your leverage, and we'll talk about risk reduction in just a second. If you can kind of weather this storm with spot and you see this 50% drop, you say, okay, that's probably the blow off top. You want to sell the complacency shoulder. No one's going to tell you exactly how far or how high it's going to go, but that's a good indicator that, hey, we'll probably get this quote unquote dead cat bounce. And that's where you want to take some serious profits. If you rode this entire trend, you watch this go down 50%, and then you watch it bounce back up another 50% from the lows, you probably want to take some profits there. That's a completely valid way to trade a Bitcoin parabola in my mind. It's you have the parabola, it has the blow off top, you watch the parabolic sell off, and then you get that dead cat bounce. And that's where you want to take some serious profits, whether it's into USD, into BTC, whatever the case is. And that's why, again, going back to leverage trading is like Frogger. If you're familiar with the game SC, with the frog jumping across the highway, it's a means to an it's an old school game that I used to play on the computer when I was a kid. And similar to that in the sense of staking, right? So
Yes.
Leverage trading is a means to an end. If you stay at the casino long enough, you will lose. If you play Frogger long enough, you will get hit on the highway and you will die. So if you're trading a Bitcoin parabola and you're playing with leverage, it would behoove you to start reducing risk as we break all-time highs. And this is where a lot of new entrants compared to, I call it new money versus dumb money kind of plays, right? So new money will buy here, maybe even here, right? And they're riding it up. As soon as we cross this all-time high, they start taking some profits little by little. They're taking profits on the way up. Now, as opposed to retail dumb money, as I like to call it, they start, when we break all-time highs, they start compounding risk. They start adding on the way up, which is completely opposite to what smart money's doing. If I long the lows or I long the higher low of the lows, I'm taking profits on the way up. I'm not adding risk, I'm reducing risk. Now, there are a lot of champions of crypto Twitter that have made it, I guess, their persona to long parabolas and then compound risk as it goes up. I'm not going to name anyone. I love everyone on Twitter. There's no reason to name and shame. But I'm sure you guys can think of a few people who have compounded the entire way up this way, right? And then they long the top here and they just kept adding and adding and adding. And they just got destroyed here. They might have lost 80 to 90% of everything they made up here around here. And that's what happens when you're margin trading. You keep compounding risk. And that's why I think it's so pivotal to remember that as we start, again, I'm pretty of the idea that this is going to go parabolic. We're going to go to 100K and who knows where from there. I think it would behoove you that once we start breaking these all-time highs, to have a plan in place for how you plan to take profit. what is your strategy? Are you going to have trailing stops every 3, 5, 7, 10% from price? Are you going to have partial take profits every $5,000, $7,000, $10,000, whatever you have you? I think having a plan and then sticking with that plan, because all too often I've also seen friends of mine, we traded here, we started from 12K, we got up to 20K, and we got to 40K, and they're like, all right, at 50K, I'm going to start selling some. At 60K, I'm going to start selling some. 70K, I'm going to start selling some. We get to 50K, they pull their orders. We get to 60K, they pull their orders. It's going to 75K, and they don't sell a single fucking thing and ride it all the way back down. Yeah. So I think it would behoove most people to have a plan in action and then execute on that plan. So that kind of goes back to the risk management, risk loading, whether you're loading risk in the beginning of the trend or towards the end of the trend. New money tends to do it towards the end of the trend, where smart money does in the beginning of the trend, and then they're taking off as the trend progresses into price discovery. Now, on top of that, most won't out-trade a buy and hold strategy this cycle. It's been true the entire time. Unless you're someone like SC or some of these other god tier scalpers, you're probably just not going to out-trade a Bitcoin parabola, especially for newer traders. And I think the sooner you understand and accept that, the sooner you can play to your own strengths, which is buy and hold, right? If you're going to buy and hold on leverage, or just buy and hold spot. Now, again, if this plays out similarly to the 2013, 2017 cycle, we're going to have a time to rotate. So I know a lot of people give me shit on Twitter for being a quote unquote BTC maxi, and right now I am. The next 2 months are 100% unequivocally Bitcoin's time. Now, what happens as we approach the end of the Bitcoin blow off top and we go into the next year? Well, you have a blow off top at some point. Let's just say we blow off in December at 100K, and then we start ranging. Well, what is rangers good for? Rangers are great for alts, right? So this is why I think it behooves people to stick in alts right now. There's a huge opportunity cost in sitting in, Ethereum. I think you showed the ETH-BTC chart earlier, and I'll get to that in just a second. It would behoove you to sit in anything else other than Bitcoin because the opportunity cost is too high at this point. We haven't broken all-time highs. And sure, alts can go up at the same time as Bitcoin breaks its all-time high. That's great. But as a rotator, and you want to play this as a cyclical asset with a parabolic trajectory, you're going to want to wait until we have that blow off top. And whether it's on the complacency shoulder or during this, huge parabolic sell-off, this is where you start rotating into alts. Because if Bitcoin's down 50%, all these alts are down 60, 70, 80%, whatever the case may be. And that's when you start rotating from BTC into alts, and you're using the BTC pair as your gauge for whether you're doing good or not. So with that, I kind of want to switch gears a little bit and talk about ETH-BTC before I get into some journaling and meditation stuff. Similar to what you said, I agree. ETH-BTC, I'm super hyper bullish on in the macro. But I think as Bitcoin continues its parabolic ascent, it would behoove you to be in ETH right now. You're just cucking yourself. I think this is a range, and I drew this. I think you had a similar range. If this is a range, I'm looking for that deviation sweep below and that reclaim to get long. Whether that's 45, 5, or just below 55. I think once you break this level, that's probably coincides with Bitcoin's parabola, so to speak, of where we start going up 20, 30% per day. Yeah. Not 20, 30% per day, but just crazy gains that happen within a short period of time. So one stat that I always liked about Bitcoin is that it makes all of its yearly gains, or the majority of its yearly gains, over a 15-day period throughout the year. So this year it's up, I think, 100 and something % from the yearly open. Let me double check that.
Yeah, but this time it's different.
It is up 100. That's my favorite quote. It's never different, and that's the beauty of it, right? So if we can use previous cycles, Bitcoin's up 110% today for the year so far. I wonder what that looks like at the end of the year. If it's going to make all its yearly gains within a 15-day period, I'm going to be a betting man and assume that it's going to do that within this month and the next month, and then top out somewhere in December. I don't know for a fact. I don't, anyone who claims it does, good for you. You're full of shit. But at this point in time, I'm here for the Bitcoin parabola. There's a time to rotate into ETH-BTC and other alts and Ponzi's, as we like to know. If 2017's any sort of gauge, we had our parabolic blow off top in Bitcoin on mid-December. And then what happened the next 2-3 months? Alts went fucking bananas. Like, you thought they went bananas from September to December? No, they went much higher from December to January, March. So if that's the case, right, I'd like to see ETH-BTC just slowly drip down, look like it's going to fall off a cliff below the range lows, sweep the range lows, start building a position under 55. And what I mean by position, I'm probably not going to do this on margin. I'm just going to be rotating my spot BTC into spot ETH, right? Because you talked about your targets on ETH BTC. Once we kind of get that move and that reclaim, we're going to expand from the range high. And I think we go towards the midpoint, like you said, 0.011, or maybe towards the range high of the entire move, which is, fucking parabolic, 0.18, etc. So I think we're in that similar boat now. My strong opinion is that Bitcoin will trend over the next 8 weeks or so very strongly, outpacing all the alts. Maybe there's a few outliers, but the point is, once we kind of break down that range low on ETH BTC and we get that reclaim, whether it's on the range low break or just the reclaim, I think it would behoove you to start building a position here and play alts come mid-December going into the new year.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my spiel on rotation. And then the last thing is kind of meditation and journaling. We're in a parabolic uptrend that I believe we're, in the second half of. So there's no way to identify a top, at least in my mind, from a technical perspective. It just happens when it happens. But you can identify top feelings in yourself, those feelings of euphoria, those feelings of greed, where you plan to sell here, here, and here. And as we approach here, you start canceling this order, right? As we approach here, you start canceling this order. These are great indications that you're not sticking to your plan, probably due to emotional biases. And I think when you wake up every morning, if anyone who has, the drive and lust and hunger to kind of perform well this cycle, when you wake up every morning and you start checking the Bitcoin chart or the just altcoin charts in general, take an honest moral inventory of yourself. See where you are in this cycle. How are you feeling that morning? Are you feeling euphoric? Are you feeling complacent? Are you feeling greedy? Are you feeling excited? And try to even quantify that if you can. Give it a rating on a scale of 1 to 10 or 1 to 100, whatever the case is. It doesn't matter if you write a couple sentences or if you journal an entire paragraph or 10 paragraphs on what your emotional state of mind is. I think whether it's in an Excel document, I use Edgewonk just for my personal trades in general. It's just so key to kind of keep a living record of where and how you are at any point given time. Because if I didn't do that, I would never have looked back at my journal and said, okay, Bitcoin looked like it was going to fall off a cliff here. I wrote exit alt markets here. And then we had a similar thing here where emotionally, it might not look similarly structurally, but emotionally, I was worried, is Bitcoin going to fall off a cliff? Are we going to sweep my stop at 37? Am I going to pull my stop because I'm afraid it's going to get swept? This is where journaling came in. I told myself, it looks like it's going to fall off a cliff. Well, it's probably going to reverse. And that's where journaling kind of comes in handy. So kind of on that topic, I'll switch to meditation. Meditation is something that I've always used to kind of become self-aware, because I'm a discretionary trader. I don't trade using algorithms. I'm point and click. I'm as retail as it gets in that sense. But I'm honest with myself. And I have achieved that through meditation. Even if it's just 10, 15 minutes every single morning, breathing, following my breath. I think it's so key to have some sort of routine that helps you become grounded. Because once you start to identify the things within yourself that kind of speak emotions, you're starting to let emotions take over a plan. Like you always talk about having a plan and then waiting to execute it, and where you fuck up is in the middle, right? So if you can meditate and learn to control yourself, you don't fuck up in the middle.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's, I think, the entire point of all this, is that we're starting a Bitcoin parabola. A lot of people want to make it, right? And I'm sure a lot of people are going to make a fuck ton of money this cycle. I'm really excited for everyone, but very few to little of them are going to actually keep it. And that's because they don't have a plan. They're just here for the ride, unfortunately. A lot of people come into crypto and Bitcoin just here for the ride. They want to watch that parabolic ascent, the up only, how it feels every day. It is truly incredible. There's nothing more, simultaneously beautiful or violent as the Bitcoin bull run.
Yeah.
It's shock and awe. It's gorgeous. So with that said, I think that's pretty much all the topics I've kind of wanted to cover here.
Thank you very much. You shared loads of alpha, and I'm glad you're on, because the biggest question I've had, where do I start? And I think with you made a course, and this is, I don't vouch for people unless I've vetted them myself. A lot of people have been asking me where to start. Your course does cover people from beginners to experienced, doesn't it?
Yeah, so that, I don't like the show.
I'm going to share it for you anyway. I'm going to share it for you anyway, so I don't care if you like it or not.
I made the curriculum with ISO as a way to kind of give new entrants perspective.
If you don't mind, would you mind bringing the site up where you do it? Just because I've got so much requests for it. So this is reason why I say this, because for beginners, I think it's a great place. If you like it, you like it. You don't, well, you don't. But yeah, it's
Yeah,
called.
it's really just a course. It's the tools of the trade.com. It's really just a course to teach people who are interested in trading how to get started, what to do. And that starts from both a technical perspective and also the execution perspective. How do I actually go onto an exchange and execute a trade? How do I set invalidation? How do I think about invalidation? How do I think about journaling? And how do I actually approach trading from a holistic manner? I mean, I talk about meditation a lot actually in here. And then towards the end, some of the actual strategies that I use that, again, it's not alpha in the sense that this is the blueprint, you're going to become a millionaire. It's not at all. Trading's fucking hard, but it gives you a blueprint for how to approach it with a methodical framework. And I think that's what everyone's looking for. It's a good starter course, but it's also a good intermediate course for anyone who's done trading and they want to take their trading to the next level. But again, I don't like to shill shit, man. I made it out of fun. It was a passion of love.
You know,
If you
it's
like it, you like it.
appreciation,
If
and
you don't, you don't.
I've checked it out, and I think it's brilliant. I've learned a lot from it myself. Thank you again for coming on, mate. And definitely we're gonna have to sort this out again soon. Hopefully in a bear
Awesome.
market.
Really appreciate you having me.
Trend,
SC. It's
hopefully.
always great to shoot the shit with you, man.
Take care. Bye bye. So
All right, take
everybody,
care,
say thanks to Zoran. Okay, I'll cover 1 or 2 alts. Okay, a few guys requested name a couple of alts. 2 alts I'll cover. Okay, I didn't cover that much. But follow Zoran. Okay, on Twitter. If you've got any questions, I'm sure he'll be more than happy to ask. Okay, so which alts are we gonna cover? I really need a piss, so I'm gonna go through this quick. Somebody asked for, what was it? Name the alts. 2 quick alts. Oh, that's it. Toolsofthetrade.com. I think if you ask Zoran, I think. Hang on, let me get it up. Ask him. Just DM him on Twitter or message him on Twitter. I don't know. Yeah, toolsofthetrade.com. I forgot it. It'll be in the recording anyway, so you can find it. But yes. So SLP, okay. SLP. I am in SLP. I've got a spot position in SLP. There's a lot of talk about people not liking it. Okay, that's fine. I know where I'm wrong. I know where I'm gonna get out. So SLP basically, this is where I'm gonna. This is my range lows. Okay, we de-reach above range lows. Where would be the confirmation play? I would personally think above here. So this is my range where I'm looking to accumulate within. Okay, if it breaks this low and starts breaking down, I'm gonna cut it. Okay. If you want the confirmation play, well, we can do is just like here. Once it broke out, you go for the long. Excuse me. If it breaks out, then you can go for the long. It's at range lows. Where if you're gonna buy just purely on technicals, it's gonna be at range lows, isn't it? So yeah, I'm happy to load up towards here as well. If it breaks below here, okay, I'll accept it. I'm wrong. If it does something like this and then reclaims, okay, even better. I'll get back in, play towards there. But ultimately, the breakout play would be if it gets back above here, and then play towards here, and then range highs. Okay, simple as that, and that's it. If it's garbage, no one asking you to buy it. Okay, so that's that. The next one was toolsofthetrade.com. Yes, this is it. This is the website. My internet's here. The toolsofthetrade.com. Okay, the tools of the trade. Amoebas posted the link, so it's that there. And I don't like to shill people's courses, but this guy is everybody. He's legit. He's as legit as they get. Okay, so you got a problem with me shilling somebody's course? Fuck you. So that's it. I don't get nothing out of it. I shared a lot of alpha, but he's a mate and he offers value. So people that offer value are very rare to come across. He's definitely legit, and if you know him long enough, you know him. So okay, what's the link? Let's do a link. Okay, same as before. I've always said this before. What is going on with link? So if we go to link, hang on a minute. We'll do link and then one more, and then I'm tired. I need to fucking piss freely. So we'll go with this. What's capping the upside? Okay, we can call that a range high. We can call this our range low. Okay. And what's capping it in the middle-ish area? Let's box this region out, probably around here. Okay. So what we've done is, really and truly, it's starting to break down. And unless it, for me personally, okay, there's 2 ways of playing it. One is, okay, I did say a bearish plan before, which had a trigger. It didn't give me the trigger, but that's support. Okay. So scenario 1 is, well, if it's taken out this high, I mean, it's a bit late now, but that would have been swing failure. You could have shorted it, clean break above here, cut it. Where would be my objective? Probably towards support here. Okay. And then that's key support. If it deviated it and then got back above, well, that's a swing failure of a range low, play it back up towards range highs, and then target there. And that would be just playing it both sides of the market. The further downside scenario is, okay, if it came into here and then bounced and did this, if it came back below here and held, well, that's from there towards there, and that's playing this range. Okay, so I think this is still range bound. I think it goes a bit lower personally. Depends what market does, obviously. At what point would I say, okay, you know what, this is carving out a bullish pattern? But what I would look for is this, and then, well, if it's gonna go higher, obviously it's my objective again, then it shouldn't go above here. So that's my invalidation. So if that's my invalidation, where would I feel comfortable? Unless it comes towards range lows and it gets back above, then I'm happy to take it towards there, or break above and hold. Well, if it was gonna go down, it shouldn't have come back above here. Resistance becomes support towards there, then, and that's it. Okay, so that's that there. One last one, Luna. Okay, let's do Luna. I think I did Luna before. Let's do it again anyway. Yeah, we did last week, Luna. Last week's nothing, not changed. We'll go to the one I've got my levels on already. And then we'll call it session as a long session today. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the alpha from Zoran. You know, he's taking his time out and he shared a lot of details that people, well, he didn't have to. Okay, could have kept it simple, but I think he went quite deep. So it's definitely give him a follow. I like the video, man. It's like, okay, so we spoke about Luna before. Now, I think long term this is very bullish. Okay, this is very, very bullish long term in my opinion. It would be a dream, I reckon, if it ever did come down towards here, like I said before, I'd actually go for a long here, massive spot long around here, and I'd be looking for 3 digits really. I think this is fundamentally solid. But okay, if I'm gonna play level to level, target 1, so I can load up my spot, then play margin, play separate, target 1 there, and then if it gets back above here, that's a deviation from there towards there, and then if obviously breaks above here, then higher price. I think it goes to like 100. Now, what if this is key support? So if I want to play level to level short term, I discussed this previously, playing it from there toward this blue box here. So if it's not going to go that low, well, what would be an objective for price? It would be around here, wouldn't it? Right? So if it was to, I don't know, do something like, oh, fuck off. If it was to do something like this, okay? And if it was to get back below here and hold, that's a breakdown, and that's a sort of, okay, if you want to call it deviation, just makes things easier. Because obviously when it got back below here before, it dropped towards range lows. When it broke and held above it, it pushed up higher. So it breaks back below here, I would anticipate target 1, target 2. And that's just me playing the range. If it then did this and then got back above, I'll play the same again, back up again. Deviation, back up towards range high. Deviation, back up towards range high. At this point, I think it makes more sense. I mean, if it's going to drop right, I would love it to just nuke hardcore. Okay, do something like this and accumulate for a while and then launch back up. I'll actually be going for 100 price target here. But yeah, but at least towards here and then whatever. And like I said before, how would I make out a price target? Well, if it did come towards here and say that this was the bottom, and I went over this last week, okay, so I'm actually repeating it. I don't know why I did, Luna. I actually went over last week. Say that was the high to the low, then the objectives would be 58, 70, and then 83 based on fib extensions. Okay, that's if that was the low. Okay, I'm not saying it is, but whatever the low is. Okay, I'm getting tired now, so I hope you guys enjoy the stream. My plans are clear, I hope. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Let's get to 30k subscribers. I'm on 26 right now. Use the link in the description. It shows support to the channels, okay? And I'll catch you guys next week. Good evening. Have a good evening.